Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Holly Kitchens, obviously not John Kitchens. Today, I am thrilled to be sitting in for him and really interviewing a powerhouse who I've actually had the honor of having on my podcast. A little shameless plug there. You guys have got to check out her episode she was on, going through really her entire story. But for today's intent, you guys, we are going to be talking about her business and how she built her listing business on Fizbos, which is like that unicorn that everybody wants to capture, but very few have the opportunity to really wrangle that one. So we're going to be talking about that and going through everything. But before we get into it, Mary, can you say hi to Honey Badger Nation and what's going on, girl?
Hey, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited to be on this with you, Holly. Yeah, excited.
So excited. And we also get to see each other too later today, IRL in real life here in Dallas, Texas. So I'm super excited. But yes, so Mary, for those who aren't aware, what market are you in? Can you share your market and then kind of like your situation that you're currently in, like number of agents and all that good stuff?
Sure. So I'm in the Southern New Jersey market, just right outside of Philadelphia. So, Burlington, Camden, and Gloucester counties in New Jersey. And my team now there is 9 agents, including myself, and then my husband, who's our director of operations, Jen, my admin, who's also licensed, but really doesn't have time to sell. And then we have a virtual assistant with a second one starting Monday, and also a new ISA starting Monday. That's been a tough hire. So that's our team right now.
You're so like your growth, even from the last time we have spoke, has been so much. Girl, kudos to you. But yeah, let's just get into it. So when it comes to Fizbos, I feel like it's all about the approach. It's all about the script. It's all about how you really talk to them. How was your experience? And then how did you really dial in that sector of business when it came to, because you started out as a buyer's agent, you sold 37 listings your first year, or 37 buyers your first year, and then you started getting your listings with Fizbos. So how did you approach that? And what would you say was the contribution to your success on wrangling those unicorns that everyone wants to get?
Sure. So the reason I switched from buyer focused to listing focused, I was on a team. So when I was on the team, the buyer business was very much leads that came in or referrals from the team or open houses. I didn't feel that I had as much control over finding the business and getting it myself. And I was really motivated to sell a lot of houses. So it didn't feel natural to me to wait for business to come to me, which is what I felt was the way it was with the buyer business. So that's really kind of why I switched my focus to listings. And I have agents on my team now that primarily do buyers. And of course, I share a lot of those leads with them. So buyers are great. At where I was, I needed a way to generate business, and I could only figure out how to do that with listings. So I actually started with expired listings. So that was my first thing. But now, it changed, the market changed. There really wasn't, the only thing that was expiring was either unmotivated sellers or something was wrong with the house. Like everything sells, for the past couple of years. So I started with expireds, and I had taken some sales classes to learn scripts. So I had a role play partner. I was really scheduled in making those expired phone calls in the morning. Expireds are extremely competitive. At least they were. So I got licensed in 2015. I switched over to listings in 2017 is when I started to focus on them. For 2 years, I was buyers. And at that time, it was like you had to get on the phone at 8 a.m. And by 8:30, these expireds had been called by 50 people already. They answered the phone. They were angry. And I understood it. That was where I think I really got skilled with prospecting and listings. I thought, you know what? These people are angry, but of course they're angry. Their house just sat on the market for 6 months. They didn't sell it. It probably was barely even shown at least over the past couple of months. Their agent likely wasn't responsive, which is what I kept hearing. And now it's 8 o'clock in the morning on day 1 of failure. And now we're all calling them and harassing them for business. No wonder they're angry. So I think my approach was more just understanding where they were coming from. And that's kind of who I am and where I do my business always. So I never really thought of it as prospecting. It was always I know that I can help that person. And I kind of felt bad for them because they hired someone who couldn't. Right? Mm-hmm. They hired someone who couldn't help them. I know that I can help them. And people are typically not selling their home. because they're trying to make a big profit. Maybe now, but even now, they're trying to get to the next step of where they want to go in their life. So I had to understand, why were they selling? What did they need out of the house, and how could I help them? And could I help them? Would we be a good match for each other? And when that was the approach I took, their responsiveness was just so different. It was like they just would answer my questions. They would want to meet with me. They'd want to work with me. And so that carries over to FSBOs. So I know you asked specifically how I started with that, but I really started with expireds.
I love it too. And for those listening in, Mary has a background of education. She was a teacher prior to being a real estate agent. I think that really reflects too in the way she does business. Because one thing you had just said was you didn't look at it as just as a sell or just as this. You looked at it as an education approach. You were telling them, how can I help them, and really demonstrating that. So before we get into moving forward to the FSBOs, I'd love to hear, could you give us an example script that you would have for a FSBO when you were calling them? I would love for you to kind of role play on that.
Sure. So it's really just calling them to ask them about the house they have for sale. So, how are you? I'm Mary. I'm local real estate agent. Just calling. I saw you were selling your home right here in Marlton. And I just wanted to know, when you sell it, where are you going to move next? That's the standard Tom Ferry script, right? And a lot of times they would respond with, I'm not paying a commission, or I don't want a real estate agent, or whatever that is. And it's like, oh, no problem. I just wanted to, find out a little more about your house. We do work with a lot of buyers and sellers in the area. I wanted to see if there was a way that, we could work together. And then I'll ask them questions about, why are they selling? So great. I would continue asking questions. So whoever's asking the questions is controlling the conversation, but you also have to answer theirs and give them what they want as well. So they want to know why you're calling. You know what? I'm not calling because I'm trying to match a specific buyer with your house. I'm calling because I want to know about your house. Right. And if I have a buyer, I'm going to call you and hopefully we can work it out and work together. What I do know is that I'm great at finding buyers for my sellers. And a big majority of my business comes from people just like you who are selling on their own. And so I'm just curious, why did you decide to sell on your own instead of hiring a professional? And they'll laugh sometimes because they're like, well, obviously I want to save the commission. I don't want to pay. Realtors are expensive. I don't want to pay the commission, or whatever it is they say. And so I'm pretty straight. I'm a straight shooter always. It's just my personality. So I get right to the point. Great. You want to save the commission because you want to net the most money. I completely get it. And if I could show you a way that I could actually net you more money, take all of this off your plate, handle the home inspection, title, the township inspections, find you a buyer that's qualified and is actually going to get to the closing table, would you be willing to meet with me for 20 minutes? Right. And a lot of times they just say yes. Right. And they also, I think it's refreshing because I think a lot of agents are calling and saying, I want to come preview your house for a buyer that I have. And they'll have that happen over and over again. And then that agent either doesn't follow up or doesn't have a buyer, or they feel that bait and switch. Yeah. And that was something I was just never going to do, because I don't think you can start a relationship with dishonesty. So let's 100%. Just be straight to the point. So if I can make you more money and get to your next place and make it easier, would there be a reason you wouldn't meet with me? And worst case scenario, I give you some tips on how to do it better by yourself.
I love that.
It's very not pressure.
100%. What I love about it too is you're honest. Like you said, if you do have a buyer, obviously that's a great thing, but you're not going to come off and create a relationship that's already immediately built off of a lie because you don't have a buyer. And if it's a FSBO, there's a good chance you're not the only agent or the first agent to call them. So they've already heard the whole dog and pony show about, oh, I have this buyer. And then, like you said, they're already kind of bitter about it, or they're like, wait a minute, this is another one of those sleazy sales tactics. And I think that's key too, especially in this market, because we're in a market where, as we're all experiencing, I know some people are kind of experiencing a little bit of a slowdown, but it's still so much a seller's market. What would you say now to a buyer? A listing appointment, at a listing appointment, can't talk today. What would you say now? Has your script changed, or has your approach changed from it has maybe before COVID had hit?
So it's a little different because they can sell it on their own. So I'm letting them know that you absolutely can sell this on your own. And in fact, you could hire an agent that got licensed yesterday. You could probably hire a monkey and sell it in this market. You can sell it in this market. Will you make the most money, and will you net the most and actually have a smooth transaction? That's the part where I come in. And also they're hearing about their neighbors getting multiple offers and thousands over asking. Well, that only happens when we can really tap into the sense of urgency in this market. And the way we can tap into the sense of urgency is by making sure that the marketing is heavy and that everybody in the market that could possibly be a buyer for your house knows about it. And when I do that, that's when I find multiple buyers willing to fight over it. And then not only do you get the money you're asking for, you may get over asking. You may get an as-is sale. They're paying transfer tax. I mean, I've had sellers get edible arrangements delivered to their homes. Like, buyers are fighting for it. And it's really hard to do that on your own. It's hard to get that level of urgency because you're not marketed the same way, you know? And some of them will push back like, well, I sold another house on my own or whatever they say. And it's like, you can absolutely do it. The key is never making anybody wrong.
Yeah.
Right? You can't ever make them wrong. So you're never on two opposite sides. So when they're like, I can sell this on my own. Absolutely. You can absolutely sell it on your own. I believe that you will. What I don't know is that I'm not sure. I know that I do this every single day and I build a team around me to make sure that this happens in the best way possible, that it gets to the closing table and that you have a smooth experience, right? So you're going to be able to sell it on your own. If I can show you how I can net you more money while hiring me and also make it a smooth transaction, are you willing to talk to me for 20 minutes? Right? So it's not ever making their thought process so that they're not fighting with me like, well, I don't need you or whatever it is. It's never that way because I'm saying, you're right, you don't. Right? You don't need me.
What I love about your approach is it's very humble. You know, a lot of real estate agents, I'm a real estate agent. Totally get it. You always want to have your defense up. You always want to be right. You always want to, be that person that has the last word. But your approach is so awesome because it's like, you know what? You are right. Like you said, a monkey could sell your house today if you wanted it to. But is the monkey going to get you top dollar, have a smooth process, and know how to negotiate, know how to be there for you? Because right now, yeah, it is a seller's market. However, you have to, more than ever, I think it's now more important to have somebody who has had the experience underneath their belt to ensure that you are getting the best. Because, you see these people who are, for instance, agents are listing homes on markets on like a Tuesday instead of like a Thursday. Mm-hmm. Agents are listing markets on like, what are all these different things that are like, it's so easy to say you can get a license. I mean, heck, I got 2 of them last year. They're giving away real estate licenses. But I think as true professionals, we have to do a good job of displaying a professionalism. And like you said, allowing them to be right and say, you know what? Yeah, you are right. You can sell it. I loved that script that you just shared.
So it's taking every objection they have, like, off the plate, right? Without making them defensive back. So they feel if you're defensive, they're defensive. And now there's a war of egos. So It's just never having that ego and also having a plan. So even that, it's like, you know what? If I do list it, I'm going to list it with my cousin. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And do you know that the average real estate agent sells between 4 and 8 homes a year? And I'm sure you've noticed if you've been watching the market at all, that it has changed drastically very fast. So when you're an agent that's sold only 4 homes a year, you don't have the experience in this market the way that I do. Because I list so many properties, because I'm in this market so heavily, if it changes at all, I feel it. I feel it before anyone else, besides the fact that my full focus is only on the market because I only work with listings. So it's really very like, yeah, you can hire your cousin. If he hasn't sold a house in 4 months, he doesn't even know how to do it. He's listing it on a Monday. He's listing it way too high. He's telling them to leave room for negotiation. I mean, the other thing about this market is that it's all or nothing right now. So you either list it right, and then I get 30 offers and I can get you 50,000 over asking, or you overprice it and I get nothing.
100%.
There's no negotiations. It's very strange actually. Because typically an offer comes in, you negotiate it, they go a little low, seller comes, whatever, we negotiate back and forth. Now my first offer is 20,000 over asking. Or I have no offer at all. That's it. So then it's really encouraging them to list at a price that's going to cause it to sell and cause that bidding war.
That's so key. Like, because we all get those email blasts. I actually went through and deleted like 5 of them this morning, but it's like price improvement, price reduction. I'm thinking like, what in the world is going on with this listing that you're having to blast it to the entire MLS in today's market? Letting everyone know there's a price improvement. And you're spot on because it's all about the experience. It's all about expertise because, yeah, your cousin might have got her real estate license last year. That's cute, but she hasn't been doing this for the past, since 2017 and focused just on listings only. Because a lot of agents, when they first start out, like you, like me, we could focus on buyers. But it is all about being strategic. It's all about the positioning. And, when it comes to obtaining, like, for instance, like, not necessarily maybe for FSBOs because that information is already out there, but expireds and things like that, what tools, technology do you find very helpful when it comes to getting accurate contact information? I'm not sure if it's like in Oklahoma, our MLS had the owner's contact information that the agent would just call and say, hey, what time do you want to call, schedule a showing. Now, obviously, we have showing time. We have all these other technologies where it blocks that A to B contact information. What are some tools and technologies you're utilizing to get good information on these homeowners?
So we don't focus on expireds at all anymore. So even with our ISA is more leads that come in or people in our database already. So because there's really no expireds, and the fact that expireds are, if it's expiring, there's a reason. I mean, there's probably some good business there, but it's just a lot. It's a lot of contacts to be able to really convert that. So we're not really focusing on those at all. Not that it's not a great source of business. It's also a really inexpensive source of business.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, all you have is time, right? So you can use all the time. You can call all these people and find the business. And when you're at the stage where I am now, it has to be efficient, which is also the reason that I switched to for sale by owners. So for sale by owners, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So if you know me at all, which you do, like I'm kind of like a no nonsense. Like I don't like to waste a lot of time. With expireds, I was sitting in silence waiting for a dialer to call, and they would take forever for someone to pick up. So my contact ratio wasn't great, and it took me a lot of time. With FSBOs, go right on Zillow. I was just getting them straight from Zillow. They had their number right on there. And a lot of times they wrote their own description. So if you read the description quickly, you even can kind of get to know their personality off the bat. And what did they do with the listing? So it's so funny because I tell my agents all the time, you end up working with the same people over and over again. Right? So they have a different name. They look a little different. And it's the same exact client. So you start to kind of understand personality styles. And I could really understand that with FSBOs as well. So I got them right from Zillow. You go on Zillow, you pretend like you act like you're a buyer. You look buying properties. There's a little drop down where it shows all of the like buy agent, pre-foreclosures, whatever. You unclick every box except for sale by owner. And then it just pops up and it gives you their phone number. So I would just go on Zillow all the time. And then if they were someone who answered the phone and were good, I would transfer them over to my CRM. So it's probably not the most efficient way. And there are systems you can get Mojo which I did. I had Mojo, but I really like doing it the Zillow way, just because I could see what they did for their own marketing. So instead of saying, what are you doing to market your property? Which I would ask that question, I could see it already.
Yeah.
So they have no photos, or they have an upside down photo, or a photo of a messy kitchen, or whatever that is. I knew that they needed help, and I could kind of already back into it that way. So I liked using Zillow, and it's free. And you don't need to be on a dialer because they answer the phone.
Oh, yeah, because they're sitting by their phone waiting for somebody to call to buy their house. Yeah, they're waiting for your call.
And they start telling you stuff. So they'll tell you, like, I'm selling because I am moving to South Carolina, and I'm back and forth between South Carolina and here, and I just need to get rid of that house. Okay, great. So when someone wants to see it, how are they getting in? Well, I have to show them, but if I'm away, like they'll start telling you stuff. So then you start to realize they start to tell you their struggles without knowing they're telling you their struggles. And then you can use that later to show how you can solve those problems. But it's just a conversation in the beginning.
I love it. So by the time you call them the first time, I love to hear like your flow of your first contact to listing appointment. Is it just a one and done kind of phone conversation generally, and then you schedule the appointment there? Or what's your process when it comes to getting and nailing that appointment?
So my process is their process. So whatever their motivation is, right? So a lot of times it's one and done. And I would say out of 10 for sale by owners that I talk to, I'm probably going to take 2 of those listings. So, but I may not take them immediate. So I may take one where he's like, I've got to get the heck out of here. I just didn't want to pay commission. And then once I talk to them, they start to like me. And if they don't, if they're really pushing back, if they're jerks, everyone's so afraid of FSBOs. If they are, then next. they're going to be a nightmare to work with. I don't care. As quickly as I can weed those ones out, the better. Like I can tell right away, no thanks, don't want to work with you, go sell it on your own. But the ones that are really just looking to save, they need to net the most money. They'll tell you, I need to net the most money because my wife's in the hospital, or this mortgage is too expensive. I need to net the most money. That's why I'm doing it this way. And then you'll tell them, like, I really want, the thing is, your goal, seller, is to make the most money and have a smooth transaction. That's my goal for you, right? So we have the same goal. So if we could partner together and reach that goal, then maybe that would be a value for you. So would you like to meet? So a lot of times they'll schedule that appointment right away. Here's the trick though. They'll schedule that appointment, and I may schedule that appointment in that first conversation, but I'm going to pre-qualify them before I actually go on it.
Yes.
I don't have time to go on unqualified appointments. If they are completely underwater and they want to way overprice it and I know that it's not going to sell, I can't help them.
Yeah.
So I may set that appointment, build the rapport, and then before I go out, either myself or my assistant is going to pre-qualify them. And we really want to know what's their motivation, what's their timeline, what will they do if it doesn't sell? There's all those questions that we're going to ask in addition to asking about the property in general. And if they're motivated and they're ready to go, then I'm going to probably go on that appointment. And I'll usually get it, but I may not get it then. They may want to go through the pain a little bit, right? So it's funny because this was recent. I just sold a house a couple of months ago that was actually an estate sale. And the woman, it was her mom's estate, but she was a FSBO before and she didn't hire me. She sold it on her own. She had such a bad experience selling it on her own. It was such a nightmare that then her mom's property fell in her lap and she called me and she's like, I would never do that again. Like, can you just help me? So I ended up getting a different listing. She did sell that one on her own and she hated every second of it. And she's a cheerleader for me because then we sold her mom's estate, which was complicated and it was easy for her.
I love it. And you know what's awesome too is you go in and build that rapport first, and then you set that appointment. And then is it like a 24-hour before you show up, or what's usually that time frame? But whenever you make that second contact, really truly qualifying that seller.
So it really does depend on their motivation. So most likely, I'm going to ask them, right? So most likely, I'm going to want to do it fast. So if they're motivated, they want to sell, especially in this market, like I want to get out there in 24 hours because they may sell it on their own. And then they're pushing me back, or they may just change their mind. They forget how awesome that conversation was. They forget that they really then don't want, they'll cancel or whatever. So I also put them in a CRM system. So I use Chime and I send them, you have to send value. Everything has to be about value. If it's about your commission, they smell it, they won't hire you. So, and in the CRM system, I will put them on just a seller alert. So anything that's similar, depending again on their motivation. If they're ready to sell now, I may make it everything in Marlton that's between, let's say, 300 and 450, if that's where they are. I want them to know about everything. If they're 6 months out, I may just put it on their development. I just got a listing actually recently as well. This guy's been in my CRM system for, I don't know, a year and a half, just on one of those trips. I was only sending him his development because he wasn't motivated. Yep. I sent him his neighbor's house. He called me and was like, Mary, my neighbor just got $440,000 for his house. You sent it to me. If you can get me that, I will hire you now. That was a Tuesday. Fun. I went out on Thursday, and a couple weeks later, I got him $470,000. So like that's the other process. So the question is how quick. It's really it's a hard question to answer. It depends on their motivation. But if they're motivated, as soon as I can get out there, sometimes even the same afternoon.
So you're signing them up for, just sold under their, their neighborhood or whatever. So you're sending them the solds. You're not sending them listings. You're sending them sold. Is that correct?
Both. It may be both. So it might be just listed. I want them to also see while they're sitting on the market, not selling, which a lot of them are not still. Yeah. I want them to see that their neighbor went active and then went pending and then is sold. And then I want them to see that over and over again. Because then they're like, well, what am I doing wrong? And then you sit down and talk to them. And a lot of times it's their price. If they're priced right, they're not going to last. Even the FSBOs aren't going to last a week.
100%.
They're not. But they're usually not priced right.
I just love everything about what you're sharing because it's coming from a place of humbleness. It's coming from a place of value, education, differentiation. But then also too, there's no pressure. it's like, okay, cool, here's some listings type thing. And then just kind of like feeding them until they're ready to really to chomp on it and then go with you as a listing agent. Now, what are some tips that you can share in this market when it comes to beating out your competition on listings? What's some tips that you can share with everyone?
I think it really is that no one wants to be sold. So when you're telling them this is a partnership and also having a strategy. So I would say two things. One, it's coming from a place of wanting to add value, of caring about them, listening to them, and finding out what is important to them and why. And then just trying to help them figure that out. Like maybe they need to find something first, and it's going to be better for them not to list right now. I'm going to listen to them. And if that's the right thing, then I'm going to show them like, okay, well, why don't you find your place first? Then we're going to rent it. Then we're going to sell it. And this will be the game plan around that. Where everyone else is like, don't miss this hot market, sign here, let's sell it. And they're saying, I don't know where I'm going to go. I'm stressed.
Exactly.
Like, and that's what they're saying. And they're feeling sold and they don't like it. Now I come sit down and it's like, well, okay, you want to buy first. Well, can we buy non-contingent? Let's find out. If you can, let's see if that's going to work. Would you rent something? So it's actually game planning first to see what's best for them. So that's how I'm beating them. And I think it's just that, it's having a strategy. People want to be told exactly what to do. And most agents don't really have a strategy. They come with like some big chunky CMA and they try and get them to sign right now. And, they run through the house and like, they're so focused on getting the signature. They're so focused on getting the listing. And the people on the other side feel that. I'm not. I'm focused on getting to know them and figuring out the best way to get them to the next place in their life. Right. And then showing them the strategy around that. Okay, great. So we figured out that you want to sell and we want to do it now. Now let's discuss timeline. When will the professional photos be? When is the house going to be listed? Are we going to do open houses? That first weekend is going to be very, very busy. It's not going to be drive around the block once. Like, do you have somewhere to go? Can you take the dog? So we answer all those questions and then we actually have a strategic plan around it. Great. So photos are going to be Tuesday, July 7th. That open house weekend is going to be the weekend of the 10th. And then we're hopefully going to have offers on Monday that we can go over. So let's just have a really busy weekend. Showings will start Thursday, open house Saturday, Sunday. You can come home and hopefully relax on Monday because that's when we're going to have offers. Photos will be Tuesday. I'm going to do our coming soon and pre-marketing while you're decluttering, while you're renting the storage unit, while you're painting the shutters or whatever it is that they're deciding to do. I'm going to be doing my job while you're doing yours. And then we know that these are the dates that we're going to hit. And they love that because they love that they now have a plan. And then we send them an email that gives them the exact plan on how that's going to go. And they want someone to lead it. And when you lead it, when you come with confidence like that, so you're humble, you're not a know-it-all, you're not making them wrong. And then you're an expert and you're giving them the details of how you're going to do it. And you're sending them like they're just like, oh my gosh, this girl she knows what she's doing. She's prepared. She's working for us. She cares about why we're doing this. And now she's giving us a game plan and we just have to follow it. And then they just hire you. They trust you. It's very rare that I lose a listing. I get almost all of them if I want them.
Oh my gosh, Mary, like you have dropped so much information. I really hope everyone listening in is taking massive notes because the system that you just laid out is literally going to be the game plan or the strategy that you guys can share with your clients. Because I'll be honest, like right now, we're about to put our house on the market in a couple of weeks here in Dallas. And I literally laid out everything you just talked about. Okay, like the cleaners are coming this day, stagers are coming this day, photography's this day. We are packing up all of our stuff and making it look like, we have our furniture still here, but we're going to make it look like we don't have animals. We're going to make it look like somebody doesn't shower there. Like there's going to be everything, put away so that when someone walks in, they can visualize their own family walking in. And I think the key to is really being very intentional with the timelines. And then also too, like you said, it's not just a drive around the block or, you're going to have a couple of showings here and there. No, it's like Thursday or whenever that day is, plan a hotel stay, go to a VRBO, go to a family. Maybe if you've already pre-rented, go to that home or if you've already purchased a home, go there. But you've got to make a plan to go somewhere else so that there's less frustrations. Because the last thing you want to do is, all right, get the dogs loaded up. All right, get the kids loaded up and go. And then really articulating that, because people don't understand, like, yeah, it's a hot market, but what does that truly mean? That truly means you're going to have like 50 people walking through your house in one day. That truly means that you're going to have all these crazinesses going on and showings after showings. That's what that means. But here's how we're going to make it easy and smooth for you. I love it, Mary. You're so awesome at everything. Now, when it comes to, I had a question and it just left my head. Oh my goodness. So when it comes to, it'll come back, I'm sure. So
I wanted to say about what you were saying too with like that strategy is the other good thing about that is what happens, and they're going to ask you questions about that.
Yeah.
I don't want my neighbors to walk through. Are we going to make sure people are pre-qualified before walking through?
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to answer all those questions confidently as well. And you can never let them run the show, because if they do, then they're asking you, I just had this happen actually. They're asking you for balloons in the intersection, and they want like extra signage and whatever. But when you run the show and they trust you, but what happens if we don't have offers on Monday?
Yeah.
Well, if we don't, we're going to have a conversation, right? Because this is the plan and it should work exactly this way. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to be going right back to work. What got listed? What went under contract? Did someone else win out? Did your neighbor list? And I'm gonna always know that information. And then we're going to together have a conversation on what the next step is. That next step is maybe we try again for another weekend. And if it doesn't work, then we may be talking about changing the price a little bit. I don't expect that to happen. I expect that it's going to work the way it's planned. But if it's not, don't worry. We're going to talk again and find a new plan. So it's also like they start to get stressed. Like, well, what if we don't have offers on Monday? Or what if we don't have showings? And there's been times where I've actually reduced the property on Wednesday, right? So they didn't, usually it's because they really wanted to push for their price. And in this market, I'm totally honest. In this market, it shocks me sometimes what buyers are paying. Yeah. Right. So it's like, all right, you really want to try that? The comps are saying this. I think we should try this. If they totally push me back and they're really motivated, I may still take it. Right. All right. I think you should list it at 350. You're really pushing for 400. Maybe it could go either way. I think it's smarter to be at 350. Because that creates the auction effect, and I should hopefully get you 400. But if they won't do it, fine, we do it at 400. If this strategy doesn't work, I will tell you everything I'm doing on the marketing, and you're going to be able to watch it. And then if we don't have offers on Monday, on Wednesday, we may be having a conversation about an adjustment, repositioning your home in front of buyers that are in the price range that want to buy it, and starting that process over. So it's never a reduction. It's always a reposition. Why do we reposition? Because we got it in front of all the buyers at this price range and they said no. Now we got to find new buyers. The only way we can do that is by putting it in front of new buyers in a different price range. That's why we do a reduction. It's not because I want to give their money away.
That's so good. And what you're doing is you're over communicating. So they're not like pumped that, oh my gosh, we're going to sell our home this weekend. And then they're going to be hating your guts come Monday when you don't have a valid offer to show them or to bring the offer to the table.
And it's rare, actually. It's rare, but it does happen. I have a couple that didn't sell on Monday. Actually, this whole year, I don't even know how many listings I've taken. But this whole year, I've only had 3 that didn't sell on Monday.
Wow.
And it's stressful, though, when they don't sell for me, too, because I'm like, what happened? But I can never be like, what happened? I have to still then be the confident one and with a new game plan. So if it doesn't work, don't worry, guys. That means we need a new game plan. I'm on it.
That's so good.
So it's so fun. It's so fun. And they do end up having, the other thing I wanted to say is they're like, I don't want my neighbors through the house. I don't want unqualified buyers through the house. So you really can't control that in this market, especially if you're doing open houses. There's no way. I can't make them hold up their pre-approval letters, right? So the way I get around that is I say, I understand you don't want unqualified buyers in your house, but here's the thing. If 10 buyers come through and 9 of them can't buy it and 1 can, that one that can gets nervous by those other 9 and gives you more money.
Oh, that's
so
great.
We don't want them in there, but there's really no way to stop them, but it makes you more money in the end, and that's the goal. And then they're like, okay.
That is awesome.
But because you'll get the same objections over and over.
So in this market, are you kind of allowing them to make the decision if they want an open house or not, or do you prefer an open house? What is your preferred listing method outside of everything we've just talked about, obviously timelines and everything, but do you host an open house if they're up to it? Do you really encourage that?
Yeah, we do it on all of our listings. It's actually no one ever says no to it. And the reason is because we do have, and it may change.
Mm-hmm.
And my approach changes based on the market and based on what works best for my team too, right? Like, 'cause I know I can sell it without an open house. An open house doesn't sell listings. It does though. It does create that sense of urgency. We have lines out the door, but also my buyer's agents they're sales agents. They can list, but they're killing it on open houses. They're getting so many leads that way. So yeah, I give them the plan and they usually don't deviate from it. It's like list Thursday. I will, if they're working from home, list Friday. If we wait and list it on Saturday, I always tell them that it's a challenge then to get everybody in the door. And also what ends up happening is if we wait till Saturday and Sunday, it's like a mess. There's agents waiting at the open house. They're blowing me up. So the goal is Thursday, Saturday and Sunday are the open houses. And we let the buyer's agents know, or we let all the agents know in advance that the seller will be reviewing offers on Monday. That's another thing you have to prepare them for, because they may get a sight unseen offer or a full price offer on that first day. And they're nervous. They don't want to lose it. Right. And also, if you don't prepare the agent on the other end, they'll get angry and call you every 10 minutes for 4 days. So we're very prepared on that end too. It's like, I'll call them. Thank you so much for your offer. The seller is really excited. I'm hoping that we have the possibility to work together. We've already committed to these open houses and marketed them. And also they've already accepted all these showings. They just don't feel right about canceling them now. So they're going to continue the showings through the weekend and they'll be reviewing offers on Monday. So the agent will then go back and tell their buyer that. So the buyer's okay waiting till Monday.
Yep.
So that's even already all planned out. So everything is done so that it nets them the most amount of money and everybody will just follow our system.
I love that.
And oh, by the way, this is where you send that offer. And oh, by the way, this is when we're going to respond to you about it. And seller, this is when we're going to talk about it. We'll be talking about it Monday at 4.
It's all about setting the expectations. Like I'm in, and I know everyone listening in on this, if you're a real estate agent, you guys are in those real estate groups and you see these agents complaining, well, I haven't heard back from the listing agent. I'm like, well, yeah, because you submitted an offer on Friday and it's been 2 days. Like they're waiting till Monday. But at the end of the day, though, it's that listing agent's fault because they did not communicate that to those buyer's agents that, hey, we are reviewing. And, I've seen when people are threatening to turn them into their local boards and this and the other. I think it's just a great way to cover all areas of getting in trouble, of getting frustrations, all that other stuff. Is just letting them know, hey, what you just said was literally perfect about, we've already accepted these showings. We've already marketed these open houses. The buyers or the sellers will be reviewing offers and making a decision on Monday, hopefully looking forward to hopefully working with you.
And that's in the agent remarks, which no agents ever read. And it's also in the showing time instructions. So we have it in the showing time instructions. We have it in the agent remarks. So when their showing gets accepted, it actually says lock doors, turn off lights, and offers will be acknowledged and presented on Monday. And we'll give you a response then. So don't keep texting me like, did you get my offer? Yes, my email works. It's Sunday afternoon. So it actually says acknowledged and accepted on Monday so that I am covering those bases. And I'm also reducing the amount of phone calls and text messages I get. Because if we list 4 on Thursday and now they're all going Monday, my phone can literally blow up all weekend long and it ruins my life. I just don't want to do it. So I have to set those expectations.
Girl, your phone was blowing up before we hopped on this live.
And I had to go take my phone and bring it in the other room.
You're like, I gotta do something. So I gotta get rid of this.
Well, because you know what happens? Then the agent calls me and they're like, hey, did you get my offer? And I'm like, yes. Did you read the showing instructions and the agent instructions and the email response? Like they just don't read it at all. So they still
per my showing instructions.
Yes. Per everything that you should have read before calling me. I actually train my agents that. Like I'm like, before you ever call an agent to ask a question, see if there's a way that you can find that answer first. Because the agent that blows me up all weekend after having all those instructions, isn't going to win.
100%.
Literally not. I'm like, I can't work with you.
How it starts is usually how it ends. So if they're already a pain in the rear in the beginning, how is it going to be throughout the process of, the closing process and inspections and all this other stuff? You're so spot on too, because I think a lot of us as real estate agents, we're so like, oh, I want my client, I'm here for my client. I'm here for my client. Well, if you're here for your client, have some etiquette and be a person that can be respectful to another person's space. And I get it. There's some, AFAs out there that are just, you can't help, but they're just stupid. But, you know what I mean.
Yes.
But it is all about the way that we not only communicate with our own clients, but the way that we communicate with our own colleagues too, as well, because all it takes is one bad deal. And then you have a reputation of being the crazy real estate agent of the town that nobody wants to work with.
No. And one of our core values is being awesome to work with. Like, we will always be amazing to work with. We're never, ever going to have a dispute. We are not confrontational, no matter how hard they are on the other end.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, you know what? We may not love working with them. Even so, we want them to love working with us. Yeah. We may hate that guy. We still want him to love us. Because there may be a time down the road when he has a listing that our buyer wants, and we always want to be the one to win, which we always win because that's our motto. Yeah. So we have a very high close rate. So the other thing I wanted to say about that whole plan is even with the sellers. So when you're getting offers all weekend, they're like, do I have offers? They want to know about each one individually. Well, the other way I set that up is I let them know, like, hey, an offer that we get on Thursday could change dramatically by Monday. They may give you full price on Thursday and increase it $30,000 by Monday. So the offers that we get in the beginning are not, we need to find out how much I can get in the end. So if you're really curious and you're impatient, send me a text. I'll let you know if we have some offers come through, but expect to talk to me on Monday at 4. And we're going to have a whole spreadsheet for you so that you can see them all. And then we're going to discuss them together. So I also don't want them blowing me up, asking me about the offers. And I'm not sending them one by one because it starts to get really confusing.
100%. Well, then you don't want them to go over a contract that they don't understand, or they're not, you know what I mean? Like, they don't want to go ahead and assume something or misinterpret something too. That's the last thing you would want to happen. And that's why, Mary, I truly believe, like, you guys do always win. That's why people love working with you. That's why you don't lose out to listings, is because you have the process so dialed in. You have the mindset dialed in. You over communicate in a way that people have their boundaries and they know, got it, this is what's going to happen. In the sense of, hey, don't text me every single 15 minutes, every single 30 minutes asking, hey, what did that agent say? Hey, what did that buyer say? Hey, we're collecting feedback. And like you said, it can dramatically change because people get that sense of urgency, or they have that FOMO, that fear of missing out of that property. And then they're going to tell their agent, like, oh, go ahead and let's retract that one and submit a new one 30 grand over or whatever. You're so spot on. And everyone listening in, I hope you guys took amazing notes, because Mary is so awesome and really just dropped so much value on here. And she really just gave you guys the entire playbook when it comes to not only just capturing FSBOs and scripting them, but also guiding your listings through that initial process, because they're scared. There's a lot going on. And the last thing you want to do is create animosity that you could have avoided by just communicating and letting them know what's going on. So, Mary, I appreciate you so much. Is there anything else you'd love to share with Honey Badger Nation before we get off of this?
The last thing I will say is that whole process is for us to be efficient with our time. But one thing you can never do is tell them about a process or make a promise or tell them something's going to happen and then not follow through. Yes. So everything that we do, we then follow up with an email, and we actually really do follow through on all of those things that we say. So I'm just saying that that's one thing that I see all the time, where I hear from sellers on the other end that their agent made all these promises in the beginning and they didn't follow through on any of those. And it makes me sad, because just do what you say you're going to do. And you'll win. And when you come from that place of just being genuine, and you're never worried about the next commission check. So even my agents, I tell them the same thing. Never be worried about that next commission check. You need to have enough commission checks coming in that if one falls through, you're not stressed about it. Because the minute that's the most important thing to you is the minute you're going to lose in this business. So that's really the last thing I will say, I guess.
That's so good. But yeah, you're absolutely so spot on, because we've all been there, especially the beginning of the careers, whenever we get our taste of first commission check and we end up blowing it or catching up on bills that we haven't paid. And then it's like that fearful mindset. You almost get into reactive mode. You're angry, you're hateful, you're not pleasant to be around, because you're just thinking about, oh my gosh, money, money, money. And that greed really takes over, even if it's a greed in the sense of like, I got to pay bills. But yeah, you're so focused on you and your money that you're missing out on cultivating, creating meaningful relationships, and no telling what referrals are going to come from those. So I love those last words, Mary. Thank you so much for being on. As always, you're a rock star. I appreciate everything you do. And for everyone listening in, where's the best place for them to connect with you and follow you?
So you can find me here on Facebook or Instagram. Send me a text message or DM. My phone's always in my hand unless I'm on a live and I put it in the other room. So just, reach out. You can reach out on social media. I'm pretty active here. And yeah, it's been really fun and exciting to be on here.
Awesome, Mary. Thanks again so much. And everyone listening in, thanks for allowing me to take over John's place for this week. He will definitely be back next week, but privilege as always, Mary, to talk with you guys. And until next time, you guys have a great week.
Bye.